the Don with your hosts, Jimmy Thompson and Donato Bucci. They're covering the most current issues in sports from the 305 to the 412 and all the way to the West Coast. You can follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at JT and the Don, or email them at jtandthedon@gmail.com. Now take it away, guys.
Give them a shot to do what?
Welcome to the next episode of JT and the Don, presented by Give Us a Shot Network. I am the Don, Donato Bucci. We can be found on all of the major platforms, and remember to leave us a 5-star review, and remember to please also follow and subscribe to the Give Us a Shot Network YouTube channel. Thank you to Nicole Thompson for the wonderful introduction as always, and to our guy Mike Regina with the JT and the Don pump up music. We have a full show tonight. Couple different things: college football, NFL. We'll talk some basketball. Times Athlete of the Year. But first, let me welcome in. I don't even know how to intro him this time because it's coming up to the end of the year.
Easy. Maybe just say my name.
Maybe he is. Maybe
the
he
same
is.
way you introduce me all the other 100+ shows. Why are you making shit so difficult?
It's the JT and the Don co-host of the year, JT Jimmy Thompson, everyone's favorite. How you feeling today?
You know, this has always been your problem. You always try to do too much at the wrong time. Like, you know what I'm talking about. You're doing too much. Just intro me the same way you do every show. You made that difficult, awkward. There was no need for that. But since you asked me, I'm fine. I'm good. How about you? You're okay?
You must not be all right. You got that ugly hat on again.
Hey, you should have seen the one I was going to put on. I figured this one would make you the least upset because, you know, that other one is in the room. I can go get it if you want me to. Yeah, that's what I thought. So.
Well, listen, I introed you in under 2 minutes, so now you're taking up more time. Let's get to the show. Come on, what do we got up first?
All right, you know what we got up first. We get to finally talk about your guy. You swore he was the GOAT, the best player in college football. It's that time.
The Heisman last year. Should have won the Heisman last year.
Hey, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But it's officially that time in Atlanta. Michael Pennix, as the memes always say. Put Pennix in, and now it's time. So, of course, we're talking about the Falcons benching their $200 million quarterback, Kirk Cousins, for the rookie Michael Pennix for the foreseeable future. We're assuming it's the rest of the year. So, wild times in Atlanta. They're still in the playoff race. They got the tiebreaker in their division, and they still decide to go with the rookie with 3 games remaining in the regular season. So, obvious question to you first. This is your guy. Was benching Cousins the right move by the Falcons?
Well, I would like if you could give me some credit, because when we did the NFL draft,
all right, hold on. All right, you're right. I'll do this really fast for everybody that's watching for the first time. This guy said Michael Pennix was the best player in college football. He should have been the Heisman Trophy. I don't think he said it was the best quarterback in the draft, but he's been hyping up Michael Pennix for about a year and a half. And week 15 into the NFL season, he's finally validated. Did I miss anything?
And I also defended the Falcons when they made the pick. I criticized them.
He also defended the Falcons paying $180 million guaranteed to a quarterback coming off an Achilles injury, but still taking a guy in the top 10 at the same position. But
I criticized them for signing Cousins when they could have just had Pennix if they really believed in him. So anyway, yes, it's the right decision. Last 5 games, JT, they're 1-4. And a lot of that is because of Cousins' play. And we've always said it. They have the weapons. How many coordinators are going to come through Atlanta for them to find the right coordinator and quarterback combo? I don't know. But this quarterback isn't it. And he even says it himself. He says, I was not playing up to the standard consistently enough. So sounded like he has no issue with being benched. I'm sure he does. But, you know, he's being a pro about it. 1-4 in their last 5. They're 7-7, but he's had 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions in those 5 games. Everybody else in the league Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, they have those stats. They get benched. They don't even make it 5 games. So why not Cousins? What credibility does he have in Atlanta coming off a major injury that he has no relationship with that staff either, meaning the coaching staff? It's not like they've been through the fire together and come out on the other side. So you know what? Why not make the move and make it now before you lose the season and before players start to question, are we truly trying to win? So yes, it is the correct decision.
All bias aside, I'm 50-50 on this because I don't know, man. Because
JT, I'll say right there, JT, that is the reason why to do it. That's the reason.
And I get that. My thought process on this is, yes, Kirk Cousins is the easy scapegoat. We don't believe in him as a franchise quarterback. We never have since he played for Washington. A lot of people think he shouldn't have been paid the money. Whatever the issue is, he was always going to be an easy scapegoat. And the rookie that we haven't seen play yet is always the favorite guy in town. It's the backup quarterback to the quarterback that's struggling starting. I will say this. I don't know if I would have made this move, and this is my argument against it, since obviously you're going to be for it. They own the tiebreaker in that division. The Bucs are who they're chasing, and they beat them twice. And I know Kirk Cousins has struggled over the last, 4 games? You already said the stats: 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions. But his 2 best games are against the best team in their division, who they are chasing for a home playoff game. And this was a good stretch for them to figure it out. They got the Giants this weekend. I think the Panthers are on that stretch too, and there's another bad team to finish out the season. Why not use that stretch to get Kirk Cousins right? Because it's not like they didn't play good teams. Like, one of the games was against the Vikings. Like, come on, like, he's had good wins. He beat Philly earlier this year. Like I said, he already beat the Bucs twice. We saw him play lights out. 9 touchdowns to 1 interception in those 2 games. I just don't know if you're a team that is a for sure playoff team and you're in the driver's seat in your division, like, you turn it over to a rookie who you haven't seen play, because these 3 games, we can call them easy, but they are pressure situations. They need to win all 3. So that's my only hesitation. But based on his play alone over the last 4 games, they had to do something. Whether that's admit the O-line is not as good as everybody wants to say it is. Maybe Zach Robinson's not a good play caller. I don't know. But Kirk Cousins is the easy answer to blame right now. So you have another first-round pick quarterback in your back pocket. I guess why not see what you have? But I'm 50-50 on it. I think it's a little too early, especially this late in the season.
JT, he is it's not the easy answer. He is the answer for their struggles. He's the reason why. And you bring up a good point. It could be 3 games to get them right, the get right games, right? That's great. But let me ask you this. Do you see this team winning a Super Bowl?
That's not the point, though.
It is. That's the point.
No, it's not. It's not the point.
To me, that is the point. I'll explain why. Your next game is at home. Okay, if you know what, man, Cousins is not the guy he was last year pre-injury. If he was the guy last year pre-injury, this team might give the Vikings a run. They'll give the Packers a run. They might even, dare I say it, give the Eagles a run, right? Because they have many weapons.
And I agree with you. If Kirk Cousins was the quarterback we saw pre-injury,
and let me finish.
Our preseason predictions of them running away with this division would be correct. They are in first place in the division. So,
but JT,
so he's not allowed to play bad.
He is, but he's
not allowed to have any struggle at any point during the season, because we act like that's a bad
example. He's not JT.
We act like Jalen Hurts has played great all year, and we'll talk about the Eagles in a minute. But we act like Jalen Hurts has played great all year. But you know what? They let them play through it. They won that game in Vegas, because they didn't win sexy enough. You gotta just bench him, because you know what happens. You cannot go back to him, not with that contract. Because let me ask you this. To me, I feel like the benching is less about his play and more about them trying to save themselves from what they're going to owe him in his contract if he were to get hurt in one of these next 3 games. Because I feel like they were already half out the door with picking Pennix in the top 10, but now I feel like they're all the way out on Kirk. And it's obvious he's going to be on another team next year. Like, it's obvious that's going to happen. So, You can't.
I don't
you
know.
can't
I don't agree. I don't know.
You can't 100% sell me on the fact that we're doing this because it's the best opportunity for us to win. Like, you're trying to protect yourself because you came into you gave him a big contract half-assed.
I don't care how you slice it. It's the right move. Then, if you want to say we don't want him to get hurt to move him in the offseason, it's the right move because you're not winning the Super Bowl with him. If you want to say he's not playing well and Pennix gives us the best chance to make a run, then that's the right answer. But even furthermore, if you would let me finish my answer, this is a way to get. Let
me turn off my mic. Go ahead.
Pennix is old enough and he's sad enough now that these are the games to get him ready to catapult him into next year. So you're not winning the Super Bowl with Cousins or with Pennix. So get him. First game will be at home against the Giants. Perfect. You cannot script a better entrance for this guy to start. Then he finishes with the Panthers, and in between, I forget who they have, but that team isn't great either.
It's supposed to be 3 winnable games. They're probably going to be favored all 3.
And that should catapult him into the offseason. And the other thing is, I'm not convinced Cousins gets traded. So the injuries, this and that sounds good.
He's only guaranteed. Whoever trades for him is only guaranteed to pay him like $27 million next year.
Yeah, but who's going to want him? But who's going to want him? Is he really a starting quarterback? I'll tell you what. I'll take Russell Wilson over him these days. And who would have thought that?
You wouldn't have said that at the beginning of the year.
Exactly, and that's my point, JT. That is my point. That is how far Kirk Cousins has fallen. You can't put him out there. And I disagree with you. You can't put him back in. We saw you can put Bryce Young back in. You can put anybody back in. Everyone thought he was done. Oh, you can't put him back in. His confidence will be shot. Forget about that. If you can put him back in and he succeeds, because I know we'll get to him. We'll get to him later in the show. Then that means Cousins. You can follow me. You can follow me back. You can back me up and come in when I don't.
You talking like this? I ain't following you nowhere because we got witnesses. You out here being wild. I get what you're saying, but I disagree. I'm 50-50. If based on his play, you have to do something, but we're going to see if Michael Penix is the answer. My next question you kind of alluded to.
And by the way, real quick, you say, well, a win's a win. I agree. But 15 points on Monday Night Football against the Raiders with those weapons, Bijan, Algier, Drake London, all those guys. That's not good enough.
Every day.
Not good enough. I know. I feel bad.
He ain't what I thought he was going to be.
Maybe
Bijan's not worth this. And Drake London's so average, we're not even talking about him.
And maybe that is because
just because you draft a guy in the top 5 or top 8 of the NFL draft, don't automatically make them a superstar. Maybe the weapons just ain't that good.
Well, maybe Cousins isn't that good.
You know, I'm always looking at social media. I saw last night or Monday when they were saying, why are they not playing to Kirk Cousins' strengths? Like under center, play action, they got him in the pistol. And somebody, I forgot who it was, that asked Zach Robinson about that, and they was like, honestly, we're not doing that because we don't think we can block it. That don't sound like a Kirk Cousins issue. That sounds like this team, Atlanta, to the outside, everybody hypes up all these players that are supposed to be good, and then once you get there, you start to see maybe these pieces aren't as good as we thought they were. Like, hold on. Offensive line was supposed to be so great.
But he's talking about the offense.
And they have not protected a quarterback for 3 quarterbacks.
Okay, hold on. And that is even more reason. More reason
to get his old ass out there.
Pennix. Yeah, to go with Pennix. Pennix is a much better shotgun quarterback.
All right. Let me get to this next question, and then we'll move on from this. Is Kirk Cousins done as an NFL starter? Like, he will not be a starter week 1, 2025.
I already answered that. If Pennix comes out in balls, I don't see where Cousins gets picked up. First, you got to trade for him. Second, you got to pick up that $27 million. Why would you just not have another Gardner Minshew in there, another Tommy DeVito in there? If you can't land a big fish and you don't have a high enough draft pick to get like a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward, why Kirk Cousins? You just saw what happens. What happens.
I'll tell you why, because NFL teams are realistic.
Saw what happened.
I'll tell you why. NFL teams are realistic. I'll give you a couple of reasons why. One is the quarterback play across the league is not great. We can admit that. There's probably a third of the teams that don't have a startable quarterback. Now, some of those teams are in a position to draft them, But some of the teams are stuck with bad quarterbacks. I'll give you an example of a few. The Colts come to mind. The Tennessee Titans come to mind. Like, there are teams that are not in a position to draft a quarterback. And who are the quarterbacks that are coming up in free agency? Because I'm sorry, Sam Darnold is going to be the #1 free agent quarterback. And we already know people don't trust him outside of the Minnesota system. So there will be a market for Kirk Cousins. $27 million is not a lot for a starting quarterback by today's standards. So I think there will be a market for him if indeed they do want to trade him. And also the other thing is, he's coming off an Achilles injury. We thought he would struggle, and he has. But he's also had some moments to show us, okay, like, the Kirk Cousins we've seen is still under there. So
has Aaron Rodgers, buddy. So has Aaron Rodgers.
Will have a job next year. He'll either be with the Jets or somebody else will sign him. Like, those guys will be starters. So I think Kirk Cousins, $27 million would be a starter.
I disagree. I think for Rodgers, it's Jets or nobody.
We'll see.
Sorry.
Somebody always willing to take a bet.
All right. So let's talk about the Heisman. We spent way too much time on Kirk Cousins. Travis Hunter won the Heisman this past Saturday night. He's only the second full-time defensive player to win the Heisman and the 5th non-QB to win it this century. So, JT, first question, was Travis Hunter the right choice?
Before I answer that, I want to shout out Mike Hughes. I'll let you read this question if you can see.
Oh, I don't want to read it.
Mike, we love you, but I had to throw this out here. I saw it too late, but this is actually a question for you, so you answer him because you have all the knowledge.
Mike, thanks for always for watching. Does this mean I can start Kyle Pitts in fantasy now? Yeah, he got Michael Pennix. Let's go. Start him. All
right, you heard it there first. So Travis Hunter, was he the right choice for the Heisman? Absolutely. We talked about this on the last show last week, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. He's the Shohei Ohtani of college football. What he's done, we'll never see again. Best defensive player for sure, and top 3 to 5 at worst offensive player. Definitely the best receiver, won the Blitnikoff. All-American, both sides of the ball. Like, we give all this hype to these two-way players, like I said, like a Charles Woodson, where they play primarily on defense and they may run like 5 plays on offense and they score a touchdown. It's like, oh, he's a two-way player. No. This man played all the snaps, both sides of the ball, Power 5 conference. PFF has him rated top in every position that he played. It was just impossible to not give it to him. Imagine if we look back at this and be like, you know what? Yeah, we gave it to a running back in a situation where we've seen other running backs put up similar stats the past 6 to 8 years, and we didn't even care about those seasons. And all we're supposed to care about a guy who does it in, the G5 level. So no shade to Genty. He's a monster, but what Travis Hunter did was unreal. We'll never see it again. Definitely the right choice.
And to Mike Hughes, real quick, we are not a fantasy show, and I do want to put the disclaimer.
You keep telling people that, but shit keeps sneaking in.
Do not take any advice that I give because I did not win.
Don't take advice from him. I will say, because actually do the opposite of what he says. Because every time he gives you advice, it blows up in your face. But when you don't listen to him, you win a championship.
That's right. All right. So listen, was he the right choice? Listen, essentially people are saying, hey, Ashton Genty had a historic season. Every running back that has had his type of numbers have all gone on to win the Heisman. And I'm like, okay, fair. But this is the difference. We have never seen a two-way player like Travis Hunter. That's the difference. So yes, while Genty any other year would be the Heisman winner, not this year. 92 catches, 1,152 yards. The second most of Heisman winners of receivers behind only Devontae Smith. He had 14 touchdowns. Travis Hunter, second in Heisman wide receiver winners, only behind Desmond Howard, who had 17. And then you throw in 4 interceptions. You throw in the fact that he's the only player to have played 30-plus plays on each side of the ball in college football. I mean, you take them off Colorado, they don't even get this far to be mentioned in the playoffs. Shedeur Sanders is great, but they needed Travis Hunter.
And I'll give you credit.
At the end of the day, he was the right choice.
And I'll give you props. You say this all the time. I'll add this to it. If they take Travis Hunter off that team, Shedeur Sanders is in the Heisman Trophy conversation, and it's a race between him and Cam Ward, and Ashton Genty is still on the outside looking in. So I don't think he had a chance to win this at all, to be honest. Like, he's lucky that the only quarterback that was relevant enough to do it would be Cam Ward. And we got to talk about him in a minute here. But, yeah, I mean, he was never going to win over Travis Hunter. It's too much of a unique situation to just say, no, we're not going to give a Heisman to that guy.
Yeah. And unfair to Genty, he's at Boise State. I don't agree with it. I didn't think he should be punished for it. But let's face it, if he was at Alabama, he would have won the Heisman.
But if he's at Alabama, maybe he doesn't have that season.
Maybe he has a better one.
Maybe.
All right. So, being Miami Hurricane guys, we're not going to deny it, even though they always break our heart.
Until they show me something, I don't want to be associated with them. They've stolen too many decades of my life.
So, was Cam Ward disrespected in this Heisman race?
Oh, 100%. And it's not him. It's just we talk about this offline sometimes. I feel like college football, they hate Miami. And whatever it is that the Canes represent, it's, success from a non-traditional blue blood, how, we have sanctions and the way we do things. It goes back to the Catholics versus convicts thing, us being on probation. They just hate the way that we've won and done things in the past. So I think there's always a little bit of, if we just stick it to Miami, we will. Even if, they don't need to, we stick it to ourselves because we're going to disappoint. But let's keep it real. There's valid reasons to say that, because if Cam Ward had this season and he played for an LSU team that was let's say 8 or 9 wins, he probably wins the Heisman. And we know that because we just saw that with Jaden Daniels. Thank you. And you can't convince me. Jaden Daniels played for a team that did not win enough games. They were an okay team, and he put up nice numbers, and you gave that guy the Heisman. Why does Cam Ward not deserve it? We were on the cusp, probably should have made the playoffs, almost went to our conference championship. We won 10 games, led the nation in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and he had the big moments. All those games where, we were down and he brings us back. The Cal game, destroying Florida week 1 on national television. Even
the Virginia Tech play, we all thought that could be his Heisman moment. He's getting sacked. He throws a Mahomes in there.
There was at least 4 or 5 times where I was like, all right, this is his Heisman moment.
Heisman moment, yeah.
As RG3 once said, I think somebody won the Heisman tonight. He had at least 4 or 5 of them moments. And even in the Syracuse game that cost us the season, he still had an amazing game. And he had good plays in that game. So for him to not even be neck and neck as a quarterback is disrespectful.
Yeah. Was he disrespected? Absolutely. I mean, number 4. You didn't even bring that up yet. He was 4th. He wasn't 2. He wasn't 3. He was 4. So answer me this, and this is a rhetorical question, or it's actually a question.
So I won't answer you. Let me turn my Mac off.
It can't be answered, actually. What happens to the Heisman race if the Canes hang on and beat Syracuse, regardless of what they do against SMU? Because I think even if they lose to SMU, they're still in as long as it was not a blowout. So what happens to the race? Does that mean he gets it because he's in the playoff? So you're telling me one game, actually 2 quarters of a game, because his defense blew a 21-point lead, that he doesn't get the Heisman, or he's not above Gabriel, he's not above Genty? I mean, listen, Dylan Gabriel, no offense to him, he had a great year, right?
He had him because you hated him since before the season. You were why is Dylan Gabriel even there at the ceremony? You're you don't deserve to be there.
No offense to him, he had a great year, but you look at that team had a great year. So if you're going to send Dylan Gabriel, have him win it then, right? He's probably the best player on the team, on the best team in the country. Let him win it then and forget about it. He's
the only player that the nation knows on that Oregon team, and that's why it was
okay. There. That's fine, but look at Cam Ward, 2nd in passing yards in the whole country, 1st in passing touchdowns in the whole country, highest scoring offense in the country, 44.2 points a game, and they were 1st in total yards a game, 538 yards. That just doesn't happen, right? We love the offensive line there. Mario's rebuilt that offensive line into probably one of the most physical in the country. We have a lot of great weapons, a great running game. But let's be fair. It's Cam Ward. He is that guy. He's the reason of all those stats of being number 1, this and that, So that for him to be 4, and then on top of that, he had 6 first-place votes. That's it. Dylan Gabriel had 24. Even Tyler Warren, the tight end of Penn State, had 1 first-place vote. You're telling me Cam only got 5 more first-place votes than Tyler
I'm
Warren?
telling you,
Get out of here. That's ridiculous.
It's the hate for
That's
University of Miami. It's
ridiculous.
True. And they're making it seem like Cam Ward was throwing like 60, 70 times a game. Like,
No.
we weren't out there running the Texas Tech, air raid, just throwing it every down. Like, no, he was out there making throws when he had to, and doing it within that 28 to 35 attempts a game, like out there putting up those numbers. So that's even more impressive. That's why he's going to be a top 5 pick, and those Texas Tech quarterbacks are not. Dylan Gabriel's not even going to go in the first round. But we got to talk about this. I know this drama's been swirling for, I feel like, week and a half now, but we're going to talk about the 49ers. A lot of drama these days in the Bay. Not only have injuries derailed them this season, but the drama has not avoided them. Most recently, linebacker Devondre Campbell refused to enter the game to replace Dre Greenlaw in the third quarter of their game last week against the Rams. He left the field and went to his locker and was suspended for the remaining 3 games of the
Essentially
season.
cleaned out his locker.
Yeah, they cleaned out his locker. John Lynch said, you got to go. So a lot to unpack here with the 49ers and their horrible season. But first, let's go to Devondre Campbell. What happened in your opinion, and is his career over in the NFL?
So, I mean, what happened is pretty clear, right? He was replaced by Dre Greenlaw because Greenlaw came back from the injury he sustained in the Super Bowl.
Greenlaw. It's not like some scrub.
And Campbell had started, I think, 12 of the 13 games or whatever. But I think what also irked him was D. Winters went in before he did. And then they asked Campbell to replace not only Greenlaw, but then go in for D. Winters. And then I guess that's where pride and his feelings got in the way. Listen, let's not waste time on players that quit because they thought they should have been playing more or in front of an all-pro like Dre Greenlaw, right? Like, this guy, he was not seriously hurt to quit. I mean, this was more about his feelings, his pride. That's what it came down to, right? He felt like a rental, and it came to fruition that night. And listen, to me, of course, his career is over. I mean, look at, I've given you this example before, Antonio Brown. And listen, Campbell was nowhere near as good as Antonio Brown ever was. All right.
They tolerated AB for years. They ain't tolerated Devondre Campbell.
And as soon as your skill level, your production, whatever, goes below a certain level and you're causing these sort of things, no one is going to take a chance on you. Why would they want a player like that? So unfortunately, hey, the NFL career is already short as it is for many reasons. And Devondre Campbell just made it even shorter for himself. And listen, when you've got players on air like Ryan Clark, Bart Scott saying, hey, I would have went in. Even if all those things happened and I was the third option, I would have went in because I would have shown them that they were wrong and I'm playing for another team, another contract, and I'm proving it that night on the field. So right there, the fact that other NFL guys who have been in those spots are saying this on national media, like in the media, I'm going to go to their side. And so that leads me to believe I don't see him playing in the NFL ever again.
And you make a good point because to me, I'll answer the question, but to piggyback off your point, to me, this just shows me he's not really serious about playing because the sentiment I took from all those guys, all those former athletes talking in the national media was every player that plays in the NFL wants to get on the field at all costs, any way they can. Like if it's special teams in a certain package, we want to get on the field and play. They don't want to come off the field. Like they will have to die before you drag them off the field. And this guy is like, nah, I don't want to come back in the game. So to me, that tells me you really don't want to play. Like just retire. But I was gonna, hold my answer because I was like, we don't know what's going on with him. I'm assuming when they sign him, they're like, look, man, we bring you in as a, Dre Greenlaw insurance policy, and when he's back, he's gonna be the guy. Like everybody in the league knows who Dre Greenlaw is. Like he's one of the best linebackers in the league when healthy. So you didn't think he was gonna start over him when he was healthy. So I'm gonna have to assume he's not that delusional. But I saw that he posted on his IG story before the game, and I quote, I'll read it to you. "Someone is about to get a great football player that's been badly misused. Oh, well, let's get it, though." So you put this on your IG story before that game, and I'm like, all right, first of all, you can't be that dumb. The evidence is right there. But what that tells me is this has already been building in that locker room, and that's why his teammates were so quick to come out and say he's selfish, he's all these bad things. He's probably going to get cut because they know as players what they've all been dealing with in that locker room this year, like injuries, death to family members. They have 2 guys on that team that have lost children this year. Trent Williams just lost a child over Thanksgiving holiday. So that's not the moment to be in your feelings when you have so many players on that team that are battling issues so much bigger than, oh, wow, I wasn't the first linebacker off the bench or I didn't start over a all-pro player. So I think he's just a selfish guy. I think the team never really liked him, and I think this was the straw that broke the camel's back. And he basically told you who he was in that IG story before the game. Now, is he done? Absolutely, because nobody would ever trust him. It's like, if things don't go 100% your way, I know you will quit on us as a team. So those players aren't going to fight for you. That front office isn't going to trust you. And that coach is not going to want to have anything to do with you. And you don't have the talent for any 3 of those levels of people to put up with your attitude. So I do think he's done.
Yeah, I mean, what you said it right there. What front office, what coach is going to be willing to back him and take a chance on him?
Yeah,
it's
and like
tough.
we taking a chance on Michael Parsons, like you are Devondre Campbell.
Right.
All right. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. Listen, Campbell is a very good linebacker, but he's not
in the NFL.
Right. He's not Parsons. He's not Fred Warner. He's not like a TJ Watt type of defensive player. We got to be fair there too.
You want to be treated like a star, be a star. I mean, that's the rules. All right. Now, the 49ers, is that Super Bowl window officially closed?
Yeah, I think we said it during our preview show. Too many older players and too many deep runs into the playoffs the past 4 years. That catches up to you. And it's catching up to them mid-season, probably even before mid-season. And plus, going forward, this is where you talk about the window's closed this year for sure. You talk about, is it reopened or is there still a crack open for next year? Going forward, you've got a Brock Purdy contract you got to address.
He ain't taking a hometown discount.
Ayuk injury, right? You don't know how he's going to come back from it.
Late 2025 is when you start to see him be himself.
Yep. You probably got to deal with a Debo contract again. And you've got Trent and CMC, and their futures are question marks, not because they're not great players. They, of course, are, but some of it's injuries and some of it is age. And again, when you make a run to the NFC Championship game, to a Super Bowl, throughout some of the past 4 years, it catches up. And even Bosa's body is starting to betray him a little bit. So
Fred Warner.
Yeah, I think it's closed. I actually think it's shut to where it won't reopen until they kind of rebuild significant pieces.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's closed. And like you said, we said this at the beginning of the season. It's closed because you can't play that many NFL games and don't get it done because those games are going to catch up to those players and their bodies. And that's why you see all those injuries. You already mentioned CMC, Trent Williams. I'll throw George Kittle in there. And now you're starting to get those younger guys that you were relying on to be the next wave of superstars to carry the banner. Now they're already banged up. I feel like Nick Bosa's hurt every 5th game. Fred Warner has been playing the whole season with a broken ankle. Greenlaw, we saw him get hurt last year in the Super Bowl. Like, there are no young studs that don't have injury risk attached to them now. So I think it's closed. And I was looking at the stats, and you can tell how close it is. Last year, Brock Purdy scored 40 touchdowns between CMC, Debo, and Ayuk. Do you know how many touchdowns he scored with those 3 this year?
2?
Yes. 2.
Good guess.
2. It's done. It's over. Like, Brock Purdy's about to go to Joe Flacco right with the Ravens. He's about to get that big contract with no help around him. And we saw how that ended up. It ended up turning into the Lamar Jackson era. So yeah, they're done.
All right, so let's shift our focus to hoops for a little bit here. In particular, Caitlin Clark, during an interview with Time Magazine, for her being announced as Time Player Athlete of the Year, Caitlin Clark said, and I quote here, "I want to say I've I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege, quote unquote, there. So, JT, with that in mind, thoughts on her interview acknowledging her privilege. Was it a good move or unnecessary?
So I'm gonna say both. I'm saying it's a good move, and I will say it is necessary, and I'll explain why. The good move was I'm glad she said it because she's acknowledging the truth. That league is built on the success and the pioneering that Black women have done. Like that's what we think of when we think of the WNBA. Like all the Black women stars, your Swoops, Lisa Leslie, your Maya Moores. Like you think of all those great Black women that have paved the road for you to have the opportunity to play in this league, and it has built up women's college basketball. It allows them to play overseas if they don't make the WNBA. It's just giving them all these avenues to play the game they love as women. So I think it was good that she, acknowledged that on the record, finally said something. But, obviously that's what we've all thought that she should have done from the beginning. But yeah, I thought it was a good move. Now, I do think it was necessary for the obvious, but I think it was necessary for her image. And I will say this. Whether I think it's sincere or not, I think is kind of irrelevant because at the worst, I will say this. I think Caitlin Clark has gone to what I call the Taylor Swift school of PR. Like she not gonna say much, but when she does, it's going to be something that people can't criticize. She's gonna give her critics a win that they can't hold against her. And I think that's what she's doing. Like she's trying to distance herself from, some of those fans who are, out there with racist rhetoric or sexist rhetoric. So this was something that she needed to do to separate herself from those types of fans, because I feel like once you let that kind of take over your brand, it's kind of hard to shake it off. And, this is the perfect opportunity and time for her to do that, to come out and say, like, I'm not with those types of fans. I don't think, they represent me. This is what I'm about, because that's how she's going to survive in the league. And that's how she's going to survive with her teammates. Teammates want to play with people who they can trust or they feel like they have their back. So if you aren't out there saying, like, I at least acknowledge that, my fans are doing X, Y, and Z that are hurtful to, my teammates and other people in this league that have come before me, then people aren't going to take you seriously. They're not going to think you genuine. So I think doing that interview and saying those things did a lot of good for her as far as, the girls and the women that she's going to be playing with in that league going forward. So I do think it was a good thing that she said. And I do think it was very necessary for her brand to do it as well.
Yeah, you gave some good reasons and explanation there. I'm going to agree with you in terms of the overall question that it was a good move, and it was necessary for her in a couple of reasons. One, the timing was great to where a lot of eyes are going to be on the interview that she had, as well as a lot of eyes on the article that's going to be published for being Athlete of the Year and the interview that she sat down to do. So a lot of attention is going to be around it, and that was good timing. One of the other reasons is the knock on her has been that she's avoided a lot of criticism when she didn't acknowledge last season when other players like Angel Reese were basically seen as like villains, right? They were not the reason for this explosion in popularity of women's basketball, whether college or pros. And obviously, can't deny it, Caitlin Clark, a huge reason. Was she the only reason? Probably not, but she is a big reason for it.
She's a lightning rod.
But she didn't come out to defend, as you would say, some of those other players when they were getting called out in the media, unless it was specifically being asked of her. So I think that's why it was a good move and necessary. But then another reason, and maybe the bigger reason, is she yields a lot of power. We see this, whether it's ads, advertisements, fans, the media, the WNBA in general, in that she could just say nothing, right? She could just say nothing about it, not want to rock the boat, but that would be using her power just for herself. All right. And now she is, as she has said, that the Black female player, they have laid the foundation for this increased interest in women's hoops. and they were never afforded the spotlight like the one that she has. And I think what that does is, instead of just taking her power to elevate herself, she is now taking her power to essentially not lift up others to where she is, because they've already been there. It's making sure people see that the other players who have built the league in that are her peers now, like an Asia Wilson, are spotlighted and are recognized as peers to her level in terms of whether it's popularity, playing ability. So I think that's why it was a good move and necessary. And then another reason is that, listen, she took the initiative to say the things that were necessary to turn the racists and bigots who thought she was one of them, right? Who thought she was one of them, basically against her. And so again, she's taking that power and not just saying nothing to keep her elevated. She is coming out in terms of hopes to spotlight the other players now. And she recognizes, kind of what you were saying, she needs the locker room to buy into her. So whether she's doing it for selfish reasons in the locker room, or she's doing it for the Indiana Fever, or she can be doing it for all three reasons: for herself, for her team, and in general, that's the way she feels, then, I think there has to be some acknowledgement of that in terms of
you got to say something, especially in this climate right now. And I'll add on to what you said. My gut tells me this. I think Caitlin Clark impresses me as the type of person where she's like, I don't really care about all that stuff. I just want to hoop. And I think a lot of basketball players are like that, but not all of them have the privilege to just only worry about hooping as she does. And I think the other part is probably true is her PR team is brilliant, by the way. I think they probably...
Are you on it? Are you on the PR team?
Look, man, that's like the Secret Service, man. We can't tell you that. But I think her PR team, at the very least, probably came to her and said something, a variation of this. You need to be seen as an ally by this WNBA female basketball community, because you see how it is with some of the players that are white in that league that are not viewed as allies. Like, there's already rifts on teams. And at the end of the day, it costs Caitlin Clark nothing to at least appear like an ally in the public eye to the WNBA and the female basketball community. Like, it costs her nothing to say things that we already know. The black basketball players before me are great. They paved the way. These are things that are all true. Like, it costs her nothing to do that. So at the very least, she can look like an ally. And they also want to get ahead of a person that, if she didn't do it, was going to be in the league next year, who is going to do all that stuff and is going to be beloved, and that is Paige Beckers. And she's already been doing that for years, speaking out against these issues, acknowledging, the black females and her privilege and stuff like that. Paige been doing that. Haley Von Lith is another girl that I think will be in the league very soon that kind of follows that same model of being like an outspoken white female basketball player that acknowledges her privilege but gives homage to the black female basketball players. So I think this is the perfect time. Her team was like, look, you need to do this right now. Get these people off your back. Separate yourself from these individuals, because there is more money to be made being the good guy than there is being the possible bad guy, not saying anything in the corner. So we'll see what really happens, but at least she did the right thing, and I applaud her for that.
So, Times Athlete of the Year, right? Do you agree or disagree with her being named that?
Who else can give it to? Nobody was more impactful, more polarizing, more popular, or any other adjective you want to throw in there for her. Like, no athlete was more of any of those things than her. So yeah, absolutely. I think it should have been her.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Like, who else would you consider a candidate? If I could throw out co-athletes of the year, I thought maybe it should be LeBron, because of what he's doing at his age.
This wasn't one of them co-athlete type years.
I think it could have been because of the Olympics, right? He was the flag bearer. He was the captain of the team. They won. And for him to do it at that age, JT, on that level against guys like Jokic, and, this isn't 1992 anymore. I really dogged Jordan, but let's face it, there was no competition in 1992. This is different. We're talking 32 years later. You've got the two-time MVP.
These are
league.
NBA players they're playing against in the Olympics.
Right. Not just not NBA players. I mean, top of the league NBA type players, MVP and Jokic, Giannis. So, and then you look at Caitlin Clark. You also got to consider, I think a lot of people forget this. Oh, she led the league in turnovers and, she struggled at times as a rookie. But you forget, she made a Final Four run in college. Like, college was still part of 2024 for her. And then she set, the all-time scoring record, then WNBA rookie records. So I thought that's why it could have been 2. And, one thing that I read about that she doesn't get credit for, and I think this kind of shows you a little bit more of a glimpse that maybe she is this genuine in terms of her interview, that I think one of the Indiana Fever front office people said that she asked for spot bonuses for away teams, meaning, the arena was sold out, whatever it may be, that she asked that a bonus be given to all of the individual away players for the sellout, recognizing that, hey, it's not just me that is bringing people to the arena. Now, the funny part, JT, is what do you think the WNBA said to that?
Probably no. The same thing they said to when they wanted to have private charter flights.
They said no because of the CBA. So listen, at the end of the day, the leagues are always going to look after themselves. They're always going to try to collect to the penny. And this includes team owners too. They're going to try to keep every single penny. So when a player holds out or doesn't like a contract, and we dog that player for that, just remember things like this, because it's not our money, right? It's that player's money. So why would we criticize someone for holding out for more money? So just keep those things in mind. But I think that goes to show you the type of person maybe that she really is. We just don't always get to see that stuff.
All right. NFL checkdown game. You go ahead. You do it. I don't want to get this wrong and get in trouble. So please go ahead. Introduce it. The only way it can be introduced, and I'll ask the questions.
The fans already know that I did not write the language for it. That's why you have to kick it to me to give the segment.
I want to do it my way, and you won't let me do it. Go ahead.
Go ahead, do it. Let's see how it is.
We will give you multiple choice question, and we'll give our answer that we think is the best answer to the question. That's what I think it is.
You already messed up. How we are not giving multiple choice questions.
Anyway,
we're giving one question with
concerning.
Multiple choice answers.
Because I don't think your explanation is necessary. I'm the one that created this game, and you've turned it into this convoluted capstone year 4 course explanation. It's not necessary.
Difficult. Anyway, it's not that difficult.
More concerning: Patrick Mahomes' ankle injury or the Eagles' locker room drama? Let's be quick with these.
All right, so the Eagles, we've seen this drama before. Mahomes, ankle injury. We've seen it before last year. Eagles, lost in the first round last year. Mahomes, Super Bowl champs. I'm more concerned about the Eagles. I need everything cohesive in that Philly locker room for them to win. As soon as something goes off the rails, it goes off the rails. I'm concerned about the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the late season high ankle sprain is like a Mahomes every year thing. Like, it always happens. And they either go to the Super Bowl and win, or they go to the Super Bowl and lose. I ain't worried. Eagles, absolutely. How can they be 12-2 and players are still not happy? It's like, you're mad because we're not winning the way you want us to win.
They're like on a 9-game winning streak too, or something.
That tells me ticking time bomb. Definitely more worried about the Eagles. More to blame for the Eagles' drama. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, or somebody else.
Listen, I'm starting to believe that I'm never going to blame drama on a receiver ever again. It comes with the territory. It comes with that position. So if you're foolish enough,
with him saying that we need to work on the passing, nobody forced him to say that.
They threw for 150 yards that game. It sounds like they did need to work on it.
That's what I'm saying. Spoiled. We got to win your way. So who are you blaming?
Listen. All of this drama each year has centered around one guy, Jalen Hurts. Last year was with Sirianni. This year with A.J. Brown. You know the common denominator. You've taken math classes at the great school of UCF. Common denominator, Jalen Hurts. So I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts. Feed A.J. the ball. before the Steeler game, the prior 3 games, 17 targets, JT. That's not enough. You're paying this guy too much money. Against the Steelers, 11 targets. And guess what happened? You didn't need to kick a late second field goal against some Carolina Panthers team. You blew the doors off of the Steelers, who are riding high.
Didn't drop a touchdown to bail you out.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go with other. I'm gonna do 2 people.
You always want to blame the coach.
No,
you
Brandon
can't
Graham.
stand Sirianni.
Brandon Graham. I gotta blame BG for putting the team business out the streets during the interview. Like nobody asked for that. Like we wouldn't even known AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts were beefing. Like I thought they were best friends. And Brandon Graham is out there. He might have told the truth, but you don't do that. And then the other is Kellen Moore. And I talked with you about this offline. Like I think he's starting to be exposed as an overrated offensive coordinator. Like Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. They're all having their worst years in Philly under him. And I look at Dallas when he was there. CeeDee Lamb said the same things, his concerns about him as an offensive coordinator. CeeDee Lamb started having his best years once Kellen Moore left. Like, maybe he's just not as good as everyone thinks he is. Like, A.J. Brown is on pace for his worst year by far in Philly. Like, he's not even going to have 1,000 yards. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I'm going to blame those two, Brandon Graham and Kellen Moore. All right, next one. Bigger threat to the Chiefs. Bills, Eagles, Lions, or Vikings? Which one of these Wizard of Oz characters are the biggest threat to the Chiefs?
I think you got to go with the Bills because they're in their conference. They might actually prevent Kansas City from getting to a 3rd Super Bowl, let alone winning it. So, listen, they've been there many times at this point, Buffalo, right? They've had so many heartbreaks. You figure at some point, They've got to break that curse, and they're playing the best ball, I think, of all of these teams. Right? They just beat Detroit. Minnesota struggled
it's clean,
a little bit
clean
against
football.
Yeah, and it's clean, and they may be the best well-rounded team at this point because of all the injuries to the Lions. So, but they've got this bad dude, JT. They've got this bad dude by the name of Josh Allen. That's the difference. I think that's why but the Bills are the biggest threat to the Chiefs because of that guy. We just talked about Jalen Hurts with the drama. The Lions are injured. In the Vikings, listen, Darnold's having a great year, but he's never played in a playoff game. He's never played in a playoff game. Never played in a playoff game. So I'm going Buffalo. Some of the other reasons I mentioned, but they've got Josh Allen.
I like that answer. I mean, Josh Allen is him. Like, we know that top 3 quarterback in the league, and he's not 3. I disagree. It's the Eagles. And I've seen this with the Bills. Like, Josh Allen has played superhuman before, only to go to the playoffs and not do anything. Eagles have the best defense of this group and the best offense. Like, they do. They have the best combination of both. If the Chiefs aren't perfect, we've seen what the Eagles can do against them, when they're firing on all cylinders. Like that Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts against Patrick Mahomes, that's the best game I've ever seen Jalen Hurts play. So, and I feel like this team is better than that team. So if the Eagles are focused and they're really over that, whatever that internal locker room thing that was going on, they're over that for real, I think they're definitely the biggest threat to the Chiefs. It's got to be them.
But JT, they might not even get a chance because the Bills can beat the Chiefs. And that's why I just think they're the biggest threat. They might get to the Chiefs first.
All right. More likely to be fired. You love this question.
You come up with these questions. Why do you always want coaches fired? Man, you're not respectful at all, dude.
And then you proceed to text me every day that we need to fire Mario Cristobal.
These are real people. These are real people.
And they're going to be really fired.
They got real
more
feelings.
Likely to be fired. Brian Daboll, your guy, Antonio Pierce, or a wild card, Zach Taylor.
I'm going to go Daboll because I just think it's a matter of time. And I think the main reason is that they've obviously had the worst season of those 3 teams, even though the Raiders aren't having a good one. But Antonio Pierce is in his first year. And when you look at coaches and quarterbacks, you want them coming in at the same time. So if Daboll is not fired, more than likely they're going to go quarterback in the first round, whether they can get Shador or they go with Cam Ward. It's never good to have the carryover coach with the first-year quarterback. Why? Because you see it. You see what's happening in Chicago with Caleb Williams. They are now moving on from the coach. So Caleb Williams has now 2 coaches in his first year. Probably by the start of next year, will be on his 3rd coach, 2nd offensive coordinator. It's not a good mix.
That rookie contract is not as valuable because you're wasting time.
Right. You've wasted 1 year. So to me, and you've wasted a year of evaluation for the new coach. So to me, the Giants have to go quarterback. I think they're going to be in a position to take one of those 2 guys that I've mentioned, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. So if you're doing that, you've got to go with a new head coach. So unfortunately, even though I like Daboll, I think he's the most likely to be fired of those 3.
I actually think it's going to be your guy, AP, man. And to be honest, I know this is his first full year coaching, but let's just be real. Like, he was the interim head coach previous year. Like, I've never seen that I can remember a 2-year lame duck coach. Like, I thought those things don't exist. Like, the Raiders are going to get a new quarterback. They already have a new GM that technically didn't place him on the original staff. Telesco didn't hire him for whatever for the DC role that he was in before. So I'm pretty sure at some point the new GM for the Raiders wants his own head coach. And like you just made the perfect, argument. The new quarterback has to come with the new coach. And on top of that, he got the new GM. Like, I just think it's got to be Antonio Pierce. Like, they tried to redo the Rich Bisaccia thing and give the interim head coach a full season, seeing how the team would respond, and it was a disaster. So I think it's going to be Pierce. Daboll might be fired too. Zach Taylor, I think, will be fired at some point too.
Doesn't he get a little bit of reprieve that they didn't really give him anything, right? Like,
no. Sorry, they had more weapons than the Giants, in my opinion.
Yeah, but they didn't have the quarterback. I think that's the difference.
They had Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Michael Bear, Zamir White, your boy McCormick.
You just hold on. You told me
the Giants had Daniel Jones and rookie Malik Neighbors. That's it.
You told me Zamir White was not good.
You notice I named him White. He was like the fifth guy named. You were like, I started off with Zamir. He ain't the first guy off the bus, but he might have started on the Giants. Like, I'm just saying, Antonio Pierce had weapons.
We'll see. You want to put a little wager on it? Who gets fired?
We'll talk about it after the show. More likely, Bryce Young is the Panthers' QB1, or they will take one at the top of the 2025 draft.
More likely, I think that he's QB1. I'm starting to believe. I didn't know if he could do this. Listen, you got to give him another year. You got to give him credit for what he's done to turn it around after being benched. And I think you got to give him another year with Dave Canales. Like, they still have no weapons. Every week, a receiver seems to be getting hurt, right? Now it's Xavier Leggett, all right? And, he's playing good football with the Thielens of the world, Jalen Coker, and they lose Jonathan Brooks. I don't even know who the tight end is. So, listen, I think more likely he is QB1, because if you draft another one in the 2025 draft, especially where you're drafting, you're starting over again. You've now delayed the process 3 years later. You can't keep doing this. If you believe in Canales, you took Bryce Young for a reason. You're starting to build weapons around him with Leggett and Coker. Give him another year. You know me, I'm a big patience guy. It takes time. I'd talk to Canales if he
remember that with your dynasty football team.
If Canales feels like Young can be the guy, then you gotta make him QB1.
Yeah, I agree with you. Similar reasons. I think Young is the QB1 for them. Like, he's played light years better since being benched. Like, I don't know what he did while he got benched, but whatever he did, Kirk Cousins needs to, ask him to find out and do the same thing. And I agree with you about resetting with a new quarterback, because I feel like because the game seems to be slowing down for Bryce Young, like, you don't want to just all of a sudden get rid of all that progress he's made. And you don't want to have to potentially take a new quarterback, and then that just resets not only the process of going through this all again, but it also resets the risk process all over again. Because what if the guy you draft is another Jimmy Clausen and he's not even anywhere near as good as Bryce Young? So at least you know what you have with Bryce Young. Like, you've seen him go through the worst, you've seen him come out the other side better. Like, I don't think it's worth it to reset. Definitely not with this quarterback class. Now, if it was, like this class that we just saw coming up, maybe we have a different conversation depending on where they're picking. But outside of Shador and Ward, like I'm not taking any chances. All right, so this one, panic or relax. Caleb Williams as the franchise quarterback of the Bears.
Man, let's relax just like we're on the beach having some umbrella drinks the way JT likes to have on the beach. Listen, relax, man.
That's all I do is go to the beach all the time. Stop trying to.
Listen, you live in Florida. You live in Florida.
Your retirement dream.
You live in Florida, bro. So listen, he has had now 2 head coaches, and in one season will probably have a 3rd head coach at some point, 2 offensive coordinators, like I mentioned. And he has shown the ability at times that he can be a good quarterback. He can be that franchise quarterback. But more importantly, again, gotta have patience. He has not played bad to the point where like, hey, we got to bench him, right? I think what he has shown me is he's been able to adjust in the second half, flush whatever bad first half, and come back and battle in the second half and be the reason why they're in a position to possibly win games at the end. I think that shows how he can be a good quarterback, right? It's not great all game, but he figures out a way to do it. And a lot of it is his talent. And I just think, again, 1 year in, we're not even 1 year in. We're like 14 games in. You got to give the guy time. You got to give him time. Roma Dunze maybe isn't as good as we thought. Their running game isn't. It's finally getting going. But this is the thing, JT. I don't think we'd be having this question if Eberflus knew how to manage a game at the end, if he had clock management skills. They could easily.
Well, I guess his point was so bad he froze. Well, I'm going to say this. While we're waiting for Don to come back, I'm going to say I'm going to relax because, one, he's a rookie, like he was saying. You got to give these people time. Like, not everybody's great their first year. Like, players come into the league, they perform well at different times. Sometimes it's right away, like a CJ Stroud. Sometimes it takes 2 years, like Josh Allen. You just can't give up on these guys right away. And then the other thing is, I thought I was tripping. I had to look up. I was like, is he really playing this bad? Because I don't watch every Bears game. And I'm like, all right, let me look at his stats. He got almost 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, and over 400 yards rushing. Like, that's not is that bad? Like, I thought he was throwing Kirk Cousins like interceptions. That's not really that bad. So you take into account, like Don was saying, they had a lame duck coach at Eberflus, defensive guy. They didn't probably hire the right coaching around him. He's a rookie. He's being hailed as the savior of this franchise and all these things like that. And I mean, I look at his stats and like they're not terrible. And you also think about that game against the Commanders where they lose on that Hail Mary. I think that kind of derailed the whole season. They win that game. Are we even talking about Caleb's struggles? Like, do they have this losing streak where they end up, 4-10 or whatever they are? Like, I don't think so. I think sometimes a certain event in a season can just derail the whole season on both sides of the ball. And I think that Commanders game, losing on that Hail Mary, where the player, Tyreek Stevenson's arguing with the crowd when he should be over there defending the pass, I think that really broke their season. And I don't think it has anything to do with Caleb Williams. Like, is Caleb been perfect? No, but I don't think he's been terrible by any means. Like, he hasn't been bad. He has not been nearly as bad as Bryce Young was up until, this coming back from the depths of hell reclamation project that he's coming back from. So I will say Caleb Williams, I mean, I would relax on him. I think he's going to be the franchise quarterback if they get the right coaching around him. All right, so we're waiting for Don to come back. Hopefully he doesn't, but I'll go with this next one. More impressive, I'll do this show by myself. More impressive, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? So I know Don's probably going to say Josh Allen. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm actually going to say last game it's close though. and you look at what Josh Allen's done the last 2 games, I think almost like 1,000 total yards, at least 10 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. But I think what Lamar Jackson did last week was crazy against the Giants. 21 to 25, 5 touchdowns, 300 plus total yards. Like, I think he gets the edge last week. Now, when we're talking about MVP, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or somebody else, I'm pretty sure I know Don's going to pick Josh Allen because, he's been saying Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the league for like 4 years, and I get it. And again, I think it's close, but I think I'm going Lamar. He got more passing yards, more passing touchdowns, more rushing yards. He got 34 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. Like, let that sink in. Just 3 interceptions. To me, that's insane. For one, I thought he was just a running back. And the other thing is, like, I thought he couldn't pass the ball at all. So to go from that narrative to, he's got more passing yards, more passing touchdowns, and he's only thrown 3 interceptions. I mean, that's insane. Like, I think he's second best quarterback in the league, and it's close between him and Josh Allen. And I think he's legit playing like a 3-time MVP this year. Like, it's hard not to give it to him, but I do think Josh Allen will end up getting it because sometimes the league is, like, hey, maybe we missed giving you one, in a previous year, so we'll make up for it and give it to you in the future year. So I think Josh Allen's going to get like that lifetime achievement so far MVP, where I think Lamar, we're just so used to him playing at this high of a level where, like, he's already got 2. We really don't have to give it to him. So I'm pretty sure Don, whenever he decides to come back, is going to, talk my ear off about how Josh Allen's MVP. And I'm not saying he'll be wrong, but my bet is on Lamar Jackson. He's just played, ridiculous. It's just we're so used to him doing this, it's to be expected. Josh Allen, I will give him credit. He has played clean football this year. I think only 5 interceptions. So, I mean, that's impressive, too. Coming off leading the league in turnovers the year before to clean it up to, I think, only, 6 or 5 interceptions this year? I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy improvement. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those guys, but I'm going with Lamar. All right. So I guess we're going to be done for today. We appreciate you guys, tuning into the show. Don knew he was getting his ass kicked, so he decided to take off on me. But do subscribe to us, JT and the Don All Sports Podcast, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Definitely listen to us and watch us on the Give Us a Shot Network YouTube page. We go live every week, and you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, X, anywhere on social media. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in and watching us tonight, and we will see you guys next time.